Please silence your phones, which I've got to do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Board project discussion of committee. Here's the committee on here. List. And now, nobody from, oh, come on in.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know when I needed to say
Oh,
that.
That's right, go ahead.
Awesome.
I'll let you talk, Casey.
All right, my name is Casey Johnson, currently working with OSU Extension, but I'm also taking on kind of the management plan for my Master's of Forestry project, getting my degree through OSU. So, yeah, I believe we kind of set up this meeting today to talk a little bit more about that kind of advisory committee for your guys' side of the involvement with the Bullard project. I think kind of as Dustin's mentioned in the past, and we've all kind of discussed, there's a lot of different factors that feed into this. Dustin originally got together kind of a group of natural resource partners to just chat about this project, kind of get everybody's opinion and buy-in in terms of natural resource management support of local agencies. After that, obviously you guys approved and are a part and want to continue on with the management plan building. So kind of where we're at now is working or trying to help support you guys with creating a advisory committee for how to carry out actions, what types of user groups are going to be impacted by these actions, and how to kind of create a constituent group of Lakeview folks that will have feedback and support to you guys working through decisions and management objectives and kind of everything based within this city project. I believe this list here for the advisory board was kind of some suggestions or folks that would be involved with this in terms of that advisory group. So I think one thing that's important for you guys to think about with this is that there's kind of 3 different major groups that are kind of be working on this project. Obviously, you guys have the kind of final say over what happens on the city property. The natural resource group that Dustin's got together all kind of supports and provides the input for those natural resource management decisions. And then that third component would be the city's representation to say, what the city as a whole in terms of the population wants with the land, how to carry out treatments, what kind of treatments are wanted, and who might be impacted by any sort of treatment or action that's done up there. So does that all kind of make sense to start with, or seem the structure of it seem to make sense? So I think really for today, or I guess the point today would kind of just to be to talk through different scenarios and who might be involved or who might be impacted. As Dustin's mentioned, it's really important to have this stuff kind of figured out before you go into a project and get through something and have a bunch of people make a fuss about it. Trying to get that taken care of ahead of time will definitely help out with any activities or actions that take place. So I'm not really sure how to proceed from here, but I think that it'd be important, to try to think through any type of scenario and who might be impacted impacted by that, I think is kind of who you're looking at for this group and how to best represent that user group within this community. So,
Can we go through this and I mean, some of these are kind of obvious, but what group they're affiliated with?
that would be awesome. I'm not sure myself.
Yeah, you
so.
are.
I can tell you.
That's what I'm asking.
Jessica and Dan, unedited for familiar with the chamber, Ginger with LCP, Steve Pardue with Pardue Construction. So we'll be doing the work as far as the campground or whatever work that needs to be done, the culverts and that kind of thing. Scott is involved with helping Steve as well as being on the board for the council. Dawn, be the recording,
Just the recording, so technically I wouldn't count.
and then Michelle being city manager, Daryl the engineer, Jeff our city public works director because of all the springs and stuff up the canyon. Sandy as well as Scott, two from the council on there. And John Shine is a rancher that owns property up there.
You know, I don't know who put John Shine, but I think, are we talking about John O'Keefe?
John Charlie.
He said he talked to John Shine.
John O'Keefe.
Oh, it's
Sorry,
O'Keefe,
Shine.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
O'Keefe owns a
sorry.
lot of property.
He does, and he's
Like
been on
half
our
that
other
canyon.
committee
Yep.
also, so,
And
yeah.
I reached out to him the other day, and I guess it's gonna be pretty informal, this discussion today. So I reached out to him the other day, and he thinks it's a great idea, and he also has adjoining property that he is interested in, including in the project.
Yep.
So I don't know how what that would look like as far as working together, but he said, if there's somebody up there logging, if there's people up there cruising, if
Yep.
there's, maybe we can get a better deal for doing more property, but he has the same issues that we have with his property. He's probably not necessarily interested in having trails and campgrounds on his, but,
The logging
or
side.
getting rid of the possibility for burn, getting rid of the dead and dying,
Keeping it safe.
Treatments.
yeah,
Yeah,
so.
The other thing, since you brought that up, Jeff, I met with the CEO of business development of the Umpqua Tribe, Seven Feathers. I spent about 2 hours with him in Medford on Friday. My days are kind of blending together over a whole other issue, and then we kind of started talking about Boulder Canyon, and they have their own group of foresters that do timber cruises. And he said, when we get to that point, that he may be able to get them to donate their time to do our timber cruise as a donation to the community. He goes, I can't guarantee that because I'm not the one that says yes or no. He goes, but we're always looking to give back to the community, and then there's a possibility that we might be able to work something out.
So-
Which group was that? I apologize.
The Umpqua Tribe, ones that own Seven Feathers and KVE now, and a few buildings here in town.
Is the KBE relation, how they'd be contributing back to that?
I'm not sure if it would be directly through the tribe or through the KVE. I met with him because I had some other issues to deal with KVE, and then that came up. He had mentioned that they have foresters because they own a bunch of forest lands up in northern Oregon, and he might be able to work something out. And
So
as we get closer, I can get you his contact information.
I want to correct, Steve Pardue is actually more of a construction expert because we can't guarantee anybody's contracts. It's probably going to be over $10,000. So I think his contribution is a construction consultant. Thank you.
Basically.
Yeah, and then I had voiced that I would be interested being somebody who's probably the most, no offense, don't think it's my way, outdoor person.
Two from the council.
Yes, so I'm kind of speaking to Sandy or Scott. I know Scott's very interested in this. I don't know Sandy's
I'm very interested.
opinion, but that being somebody who's got a lifelong, long way before we're out of the age group, I guess, to use these areas, and being somebody who actually currently is outdoors seeking stuff, I would like to sit on this as I post my request at the last 2 meetings, but I guess technically to sit on this committee. So Sandy, that's kind of up to you, or Ray, I guess, since you're after that point.
So Sandy's interested in everything leave it like it is.
So here's my question on this committee, what is the purpose of this committee? This advisory committee? I mean, I completely understand the purpose of our final say and the other one with the Natural Resources Committee. And maybe that's one, as the land use planner, and Janine Cannon and I will both possibly serve with that group more closely, but I'm just wondering, what is it that they're advising this group on?
I think it's mainly for public input.
So can I jump in?
Yeah, please.
So that, you know where Dave's bailout trail is? Up here? Darwin, you know where I'm talking about? It's about halfway up, it's across the creek, there's that little basin in there, and there's a trail that takes off, it goes up to the south. You know, that, in that area right there is about the only, commercial timber that would be feasible to log. And I bring that up as an instance, so I guess how I see it is before a logger moves in there and you offer a contract and you start dropping trees in that little basin right along Dave's bailout trail and put up a sign that says, we're closed for 3 months. And then fill up your lobby right here during your next town council meeting with a bunch of people going, what in the world are you doing? Hopefully you can address those issues through the advisory committee and the folks that are part of that to say, hey, the next logical place and work that we need to do is say in this little basin, but that's gonna have impacts on Dave's bailout trail. You know, how do you want that to look around Dave's bailout trail? Is it log right up to the edge of it? Leave a buffer along it? Don't touch the darn thing? And is it a problem to shut it down for 3 months? And was this 3 months right here gonna be an alright time to do that?
What's the best 3 months to do?
Or Noni's trail that people are using, and you know, we cutting every juniper down around that thing and changing the entire aesthetics up there. Or what's the balance, and how does that group feel about, you know, we're gonna leave it as it is right along the trail, but as we get out there 100 feet, it's gonna start tapering into where there's no junipers left. So that's, in my mind, the type of questions and use of this advisory group could be, because I see it as being able to resolve the issues before they get a foothold in the community and get out on Facebook to stir around and fill up your lobby here during the meeting.
That's still gonna happen.
Good luck. You're familiar with that, I'm sure.
So that's just a couple examples of how I see you can use it. So I see the natural resource professionals being advisors or what's that term for the non-voting members, or you know, the ad hoc members of the advisory committee, that when there's a management plan that says, hey, in this area we need to do this type of project, we can help guide that to, you know, taking it from conceptual to reality, but talking over with the advisory group what that reality may look like and get everybody's minds in the same direction of what that might look like on the ground, and then and the impacts that could be there. And so everybody's on the same page and can say, yeah, we give a thumbs up for the city, let's go ahead and move forward with that.
Does that answer your question?
Because I know I don't want to be part of that committee.
Chicken.
Because I think
Probably,
really,
we're all gonna be involved, so I mean, ultimately, the say comes back to us.
Yeah, we're all.
The committee can say whatever they wanna say, but ultimately, if we don't think it's a good idea, we better.
If this advisory board makes some kind of recommendation, then the council has to then approve it after that, so that's kind of the way
We don't
I
have
see
to
it
go
as
with
working.
advice.
Yes,
Right, that-
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just kind of,
Nice.
you know, I can tell you, me as a forester, if I was going up there and I was gonna log a stand, I may do it from a forestry standpoint. I may not be doing it from a recreational standpoint of somebody that's using a trail that's been going up there for however many dozens of years, and there was a certain spot they loved the view on. And that,
And then we cut it down.
and we could change that. I mean, we could adapt that and meet multiple ideas. Like just getting it out on the front end versus once it's already done.
Making sure the public's aware of what's going on before it actually happens. We'll still get a group that says, well, I don't read the newspaper or look at Facebook, so I didn't know.
I never look at the agendas for the council.
Okay, go ahead, Katie.
Mostly just to kind of help you guys have this conversation about who to be on that advisory committee. I mean, I think that we have our own feedback on that, but I know that you guys know the community and the city a lot better, and who should be involved with that, I think, is really up to you guys. And I think I'm here, and I think Dustin's here to kind of help talk that through with you guys and think about how, you know, that one stakeholder might have influence or impact as to what gets done and how decisions get made.
So we're, Berries and Collins Pine also are the other two major adjacent owners. Is there any reason you would want to maybe add one or both of them on? I know we don't want this community large, but I can look at maybe the top two people on this list and wonder, I think I'd rather have the adjacent owners input more than a couple of business slash other agency in towns.
So when I look at the top one, I guess you have Jessica on there. Is she not leading up the trail system?
She is.
Technically, she's chamber, and there's 3 committees underneath chamber, within the chamber.
So
She kind of reports back as part of that.
So when I think of the user groups, and I think Casey's right, it's your guys' committee, so it's really, what's gonna help you make decisions, feeling good about your decision that it's been vetted amongst different groups and gonna kind of keep the ensuing chaos to a minimum, I guess, after that.
Do you
That's how I would
feel like each of the user groups up there need somebody on the advisory committee, or do you think we just need to, as a committee, reach out to them? I don't see anybody on here from the gun club.
That was, gun club was gonna be one of my suggestions as well. I think 2 big ones would be the trails, having representation from the trails committee and also the gun club. And I think also the other adjacent private landowners would be pretty important to have too.
And Tanya Albertson's a huge contributor. I think Melissa Maxwell is also with the Trails Committee. I know that like I said, the reason that I would like to be part of it is that I physically participate in it. Those 2 gals physically participate in the use of that property. And I think that's important to have people who use that property. I mean, I understand also that you've got, we could add a really long list of people on here, but, you know, it's a big chunk of land, and to really get the input of everybody, it may end up being a really big group, you know, I mean, what's on there now is big to me. But I would certainly think the Trails Committee, the Gun Club, there's the, we call it OHV, still, the 4-wheelers and stuff.
I don't know if they're even around.
There's
You mentioned someone from the mill,
Yeah.
right, also,
Is it Collins or?
Collins products.
I have no
Collins products.
They're adjacent on the north, and then Berries are on the south, and then keeps kind of water east.
Who's on the south?
Berries, and they just have a smaller portion, but Berries are on the south, and then keeps mostly on the east.
Barry sold part of that property up there to, Douglas Construction.
Well, that's another thing that's going in, they've been having discussion on turning some of that into rock pits.
That's
More
further
gravel.
south, that's further south.
It is,
That's,
cause I thought it was
Is that-
right
am I
up
right,
Dead
Donna?
Man's Canyon because
It is.
it is,
it's,
it's south, it's way south of what we're doing.
Because it's in the city limits, that's why Canyon was involved.
Right, but it's
Okay.
south,
I
down by the south.
misunderstood the direction of it, sorry.
I think O'Keefe's is probably a good
Yeah, Tom, good.
one
Yeah,
to have on there.
I think he's a good representative of ranchers, period.
Yeah, and you know, I think Collins, when this expands, I mean, there's a couple different pieces of it. There's a recreational piece, but then there's just the management of it. Collins is into managing their land for a profit. And it's on a schedule and they, you know, through all the 100,000 acres, that's how they manage it. And so whether there's a project going on your side of the fence or not, probably isn't gonna drive what they are doing on any given day. It may be good to have a connection there and inform them, but I don't know that it's, I think O'Keefe's is probably gonna be a better adjacent landowner, maybe representative for it.
I'm
I think so.
I'm wondering if, I'd like to have someone from the trails on there also, so I'm
That's
wondering
fine.
either one more person or take Jessica off.
although Jessica's kind of important, I told her because of the dark sky, that's kind of the process. And I know that she works closely with the trails, but
But they're the ones that will be most helpful in
Yeah.
planning trails, I think.
You can drop Steve Pardue off of there and put it on there.
Tanya and Melissa.
Yeah, because Steve's not gonna have much time this summer to do a lot of anything.
And I think
We'll come in.
Well, we'll have
He'll
Daryl's
come in,
expertise.
he'll come in and talk and speak and everything else, but as far as being able to dedicate time to it, and plus, if he's on a committee, if they wanna bid on that project, it's gonna make it very difficult, it'll be a conflict.
And we do have Daryl's expertise in Jess as well for construction and things
So
like that.
I think if we maybe pull Steve off and,
Talk to one of the two mentioned.
yeah, for the trails, because I think the trails is a very
Tanya.
important part of that
I know
project right
Tanya's
there.
working on that map, that,
Yeah, because they're in the process of building another trail,
yes.
Yeah.
So,
One off the backside of the,
Black Camp.
so let's take Steve off and see if we can get this one.
And who's the bike shop
What's her
owner?
last name?
Tom
oh,
Batty.
Tom Batty,
I don't know if there's any other mountain biking group or that would be a
He's the
good
only one.
he's
spot.
the only one, yeah.
I spent 2 days with him, he is
what's his name up at Coleman Point too.
Oh,
James Fay. That might be a good, I mean, if you could tie that in. You guys familiar with the Oregon Timber Trail at all? It's a mountain, the Oregon Timber Trail, it's like a big mountain biking organization that puts in mountain bike trails all across Oregon and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
they're out of Portland or something.
I think so, and one of the guys that kind of runs that up, he was a landowner that we worked with in the past, and so I don't, in terms of the biking portion of
If
it.
somebody's done the work before, I think they certainly contribute.
but I think even if you had somebody like Tom Batty on the committee, he could reach out to the Oregon Timber Trails.
I think he's a member.
And he may
Well,
have
he,
some
yeah, he is a
experience.
member and he deals with the guy that you're speaking with, pretty regularly.
James, they own Coleman Point. The Fagans.
What did you say his name was?
James Fagan, but he wouldn't be on this committee.
Tom would
I
be a
think
great
Tom
resource.
can reach out and make that connection.
I do feel like Dan and Jessica are a bit redundant since they both kind of are affiliated with the chamber. Jessica is definitely a big part of the dark skies, so I think that's really
Yeah,
important.
Dan's also a big part of the general public as a business owner
Yeah, I think that, you know, sure
and
hears a lot of opinions
a
about
large
things going
person,
on.
person does a lot of donations into the public.
I think having representation for either like the snow machine or like ETV cohort of people, the off-road vehicle faction, I think that would also be pretty important or relevant right now. I'm not sure who the contact would be, but
I'm not either, I work on this.
Is there,
It's a challenge.
is there
Rob-
much ATV activity up there?
I could call Rob.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot
Yeah,
of.
There's a lot of them. I could call Rob Thorpe and find out, he drew a map for that area for the ATV stuff, but I'll call Rob and talk to Rob about that. I gotta call him anyway and talk to him about stuff.
You're calling them stuff.
Yeah, I'll call him.
The group that Rob was involved with, that was making the crossing for the highway
Mm-hmm.
and all that, is that still active?
That's why I gotta call Rob.
Maybe he would want to be on the committee.
Well, he just
Lakeview.
drew a map. I mean, they're gonna print it, the chamber's gonna print it for him, but he drew a map this year. I think he completed it just a few months ago on the ATV trails in this area. And I guess it's pretty detailed and a nice map, so.
I believe Daniel Tag is on that as well. 'Cause
Is-
he was like the enforcer
I'll,
on that.
I'll talk to Dan too,
Okay.
cause I have Daniel's number.
You know, that's another user group that may expand into at some point as equestrian. Thought of Daniel, he's head of the equestrian club for the school. That's-
I could talk
I don't know
to
if
Daniel
there's
about that
a group,
also.
equestrian group.
Talk to Daniel about that. The thing with Rob is we put Rob on there, if we do anything that his companies wants to get involved in, if he's on the committee, he's not eligible to bid or quote.
Whatever.
what we're doing over there.
But if we're looking at educational,
So, if you better have
Oh.
Daniel on
somebody
there.
from the school.
Yeah, that would be, what about talking to Justin?
That's the council, be the one
That
to
would
do all
be
that.
great.
So we might have to bump this to a 12-person committee.
I told you it was good. I mean, it's a big piece of land, it's a long-term project, and it's a huge chunk of the community, you know, I think that as much as we all know what it's like when you get a giant committee together, it's worth it because it needs to be well thought out, well planned. Dawn's technically not on the committee.
No.
Can we change that to committee instead of board? Yeah. I didn't think about that, sorry.
Yeah.
I put board on there instead of committee.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's-
So, just so I'm clear, we've got Jessica, Dan, Ginger, Scott, Dawn, myself, Daryl, Jeff, Sandra, John O'Keefe, Tom Beatty, Batty, Tanya,
Allison?
Albertson, Rob Thornton.
I wouldn't put-
I wouldn't put Rob on there because he may be wanting to quote something we do up there, so we'll probably put Daniel Tag on there.
Daniel Tag and Dusty Counts.
And I'll talk to Daniel to see if he's
Okay.
wanting to do it
That's the council, the representative from the
from
school.
the school, yeah.
So you'll take Daniel and Dusty, Scott,
Yeah, I'll get hold of Dusty too.
and Nikki, you'll talk to Tanya?
Yeah.
Is that how,
Yeah, no, that's what I got.
Who was,
oh, who's from the gun club?
I actually have all that information in my office, cause they brought me in a bunch of stuff, applications, cause people were coming in asking. So I have Laura's information, it's Laura Cooper,
From the gun club?
and then, what about Collins Pine?
Well, I don't know if
They don't.
Travis or Jess, either one would have any time.
Okay, so not on the committee.
No, I think like Dusty said, they'd be good to speak with
Okay,
and kind of
just-
get their opinion, but I don't think
And right now, they're looking for a new general manager.
they're always looking for new something up there.
Oh, okay, good.
At Collins, yeah. people are retiring and quitting the
There's no
field.
way
They're just left
Us
and right.
not doing it.
There's an that's 14, do we wanna do an odd number or?
I don't think we
Well,
want
if
to
you
do
take
any more.
me off,
Yeah,
because I'm only
Okay.
recording.
So we got lucky number 13.
So my,
so my opinions don't
Okay.
matter.
All right.
Alright,
13,
and I'll get a hold of Dusty and Daniel.
okay. Just
And I'll
like,
call Rob and see if he's got that map that he drew, if he'd be willing to give it up.
and then Nikki and Scott, when you know if they want to or not, will you just send me an email?
Yeah.
Thanks.
hey, do we have anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, council have anything? Okay, well then, I guess, we'll go ahead and adjourn at 3:37. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, do I hear a motion to adopt the amended agenda?
I will make a motion to adopt the amended.
Motion made, second, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'll get a hold
Okay. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move we approve of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. We'll go down to public comment period. Citizens may address the council on items on the agenda or not on the agenda. Out of respect of the council and others in attendance, please limit your comment to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. Do you have any public comments? Yes,
Lori Peter.
please stand.
Do you want me to spell my name?
Yeah.
Laurie, Dieter, Deiter, 1035 Linda Lane. Is that what you needed? Okay, so I was just wanting to ask about the deer feeding ordinance. You're smiling.
What is your question?
So, with that, deer are very hard to get rid of.
No, we know that.
Yes, they are. And they eat everything. Grass, everything, okay? So is it going to be just town or is it gonna be county-wide, that ordinance, what,
This is just a city ordinance.
just the city? Okay, alright. And then, you talked about the bird feed, you know, and I'm assuming you meant putting it on the ground. But when you have bird feeders, it falls out of the bird feeders. If you've ever watched a bird feed,
Right.
so, okay, so that's kind of hard to control. I don't feed the birds, but I know people who do it, okay. And then leaving cat food just on my street, I know from experience, people leave cat food out and the deer come and eat the cat food. And skunks. And when I was checking my mother's mail, that's why I asked you about if it was just gonna be in town or not. There is someone who does feed cats, just across from, you know, where Barry's trailer park used to be, right where the mailboxes are, because when she was gone, I was checking her mail. It's just right across from there, there's a couple little houses, like a dog house, but they're really short, so it's for the cats. There's skunks, deer, cats, lots of them there all the time eating. And so okay. And then, leaving bread on your lawn for the birds also attracts the deer. That's it.
Okay.
So it's basically a statement,
Thank you.
yes.
Anybody else have any public comment? Okay, hearing none. We'll go down to department reports, 911, Scott Utley. There he is.
Hello. Do you have any questions about, our call volume's up? All of our equipment is up and running good. And, we're just carrying on, hoping for more grants and stuff to, we are getting extra money for the 911 tax. And that won't start coming in until about July. So, it will help us, but we're still working on funding issues.
And what issues?
Funding.
So you're up about 1,000 calls, Scott, it looks like, from last year.
Well, it just depends how many taxis are on the freeway. I mean, it just, or if it snows or whatever, but yeah, our call volume's up quite a bit.
Okay.
Okay. Fire, Dennis.
I have nothing further unless you have questions.
Public Works, Jeff.
I just wanted to add to my report that we took delivery of our new dump truck, and it's really nice. We're really enjoying it so far. We just got the license and insurance, so we haven't had it on the job yet, but it's fully functional, and the snowplow is in great condition. Looks like it's never been used, so I think it was a pretty good bargain, and we're real happy with it.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's nice. Okay. Engineer Darrell Anderson. I read here that you're still working with the DEQ on the water project, or not DEQ, but the
USDA?
USDA.
Yes, all those submittals are in. So,
So ball's in their court now.
yeah, all's in their court. We'll be hearing about that.
How long do you think? Months, years?
No. I would say weeks now.
Weeks,
Yeah.
good.
Also with the DQ, our NPDS permit expires on the lagoons, so we put in the application for that. Updated the water reclamation plan is what we do with the wastewater. This time we had to include the Red Rock cooling water part. We also had to develop a hauled waste plan for the septage that comes in to the town. There's two major haulers in town. So we're going to be constructing a special place for the septage to be dumped.
Guest house.
Guest house. We are going to,
With his new dump truck.
so Jeff and I will be coming to you in the future with some things that the town needs to implement. We're gonna have to implement some training for the waste haulers. Also, set of rates for the dumping fees and that sort of thing. So that has changed. The cooling water for the going to Red Rock, we're getting quite a bit of pressure to get that out to bid, so we're gonna be doing that. We've kind of held off a little bit until we hear back from IFA. They're adding to that loan, if you recall, until we have their final approval letter. The time I spend, administration and whatnot is not reimbursable, so hopefully that'll come fairly quickly. We can get that out. Red Rock is a little concerned. Red Rock is also going to have about 20,000 pounds of steam per hour that they need to waste and do something with. We looked into adding a heat exchanger or waste heat boiler down there. We could increase the temperature of our geothermal supply water substantially with that. We would have a little bit more resource to hold that water if we get more requests for it. And it would allow some a little downtime on our well. The well wouldn't have So we'll be coming with you with some estimates on that. I'd like to combine some of the piping with the cooling water that comes around if we decide to do that. So it's an opportunity. we looked at generating some power, we could generate quite a bit of power with that. Don't know if that's gonna be in the town's interest or not.
Who's paying for the piping of the cooling water?
Basically Red Rock. The town gets the loan.
We
apply
find
for
it in
the
the
grant. The same amount that, or the same loan process we did for the water sewer extensions.
Mhm.
And then we're gonna have to change our agreement with Red Rock to get that money back to the town.
So we administer the funds that go on.
Yeah,
And send them the bill and they pay us for.
yeah, and then we can pay the loan. Yeah.
So have we come up with a solution for the cooling plan? I know that was in the works, that was actually going to work.
Yeah, we have. Part of the problem was the water coming back to the lagoons has a lot in it. We're finding the only way we could take it is limiting the amount of BOD, which is the waste amount in the water, the biological oxygen. Under 200, they agreed to do that. I think they're adding some treatment facilities right now. I think they added a couple buildings. So they'll have to meet that standard to bring it back.
That's what Kanoff had to do also in Chest Lake City with the cooling towers with the fiberglass plant. They had to add a treatment center and for treatment. They did the same thing, they pull out the lagoons for Chest Lake City for their cooling water.
We'll be taking it out of the fourth pond, right off of 9th Street. Or, excuse me, Stock Drive, I guess, quickly. Then run it down to the plant and then back, and then put it back into the primary pond, which is the one right directly behind the baseball field.
And Jeff, I meant to mention this when you were, it brought to my attention that the bridge at the Serapi's Park is in need of repair. I'm not, I don't understand what that is.
The walking bridge or the?
That little bridge that is way in the back that connects like the hospital-ish area, is my understanding. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I haven't been over there in quite a while. Daryl and I were there last fall. But
The railing is going from
Yes.
the Serapi's Park to the hospital side. The railing on the left is kind of loose and the bottom board is missing. So
okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
it could, if someone pushed out hard enough, they could fall.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Thank you.
On another note, we've had some meetings with some owners on north of town, the north industrial area, Pacific Pine, Cornerstone, the Shell Station. I don't know if that has a name.
That stops.
It stops. They need water and sewer, so we've been working on trying to get that nailed down.
Pardue Construction is still there hat in the ring to be possibly interested in water and sewer. And then one of the other houses right next to them has got an issue with their well. They have a functional sewer system, but they have a well issue that, so the more the merrier.
Yeah, if you're gonna take it out there, you might as well get everybody you can.
So is my understanding still that, when people do, connect to our services, there's sign that, or we'll consent to annex.
Yeah, they'll have to sign that or annex. We've kind of indicated on our meetings that annexation is a requirement. Because unless the town wants to delay it, they are, the land does apply to the town boundaries.
We're counting on it to offset some of the costs because it would be pretty cost prohibitive.
As long as they're aware of it, we move forward on it. We've talked about a lot of annexation, not in the recent past, but a few years back, we talked about it kind of regularly, so.
Well, that annexation would boost our tax base a little bit, I would say.
Yeah.
Because
Some of the others that we've talked about, people that have signed them, we just move forward on, which we've asked.
move on down to the town manager, Michelle.
We have been updating a few things in the office. You'll notice that Dawn's got some new equipment and she's doing digital recordings, you know, we can convert directly into text. So it'll cut down on her getting minutes done, which is wonderful. And I finally got all the paperwork in for the USDA. Well, that was a lot of paperwork. I know it's a shocker. And I just got back from Travel Southern Oregon Symposium. And the goal was to learn more about the transient lodging tax, which I did. And it was a really good symposium, and Lakeview is being very well represented. We had lots and lots of people coming to us and talking about dark sky and what's next, and so Lakeview's got a good buzz going in travel and tourism, so it's very impressive. I've got a meeting next week, Thursday, with our Umpqua financial auditors, and we'll be going over all of the worksheets that I have made for the budget. So it'll make this year's budgeting a lot smoother and quicker. And I think that's about, I'm almost done with the website. You should be getting an email from me to edit that. And give me feedback about what you want to change, what you want on there. So I'll be getting that to you probably towards the end of this week.
Do we have a time frame on the audit for 18, 19, or we 17? I can't remember where we were at last. 17, 18? I knew we were behind. Right, 18, 19?
18, 19 is
Yeah.
on the way down.
So do we have a time frame? Do you know?
I can get information to you. I haven't asked that question. There are some things that he asked me for about a month ago, and I got those to him, but I can get back to you about that.
Okay. And then I assume when you say USD loan regarding the water?
Correct.
Okay, because I thought I had heard that we got approved for a loan, or no?
When we did through IFA,
Okay,
we have that approved. It would be best if we combine both the funding agencies.
so where are we at then with the water project? I mean, we're obviously trying to get funds from USDA. Do we have a plan B if that doesn't go through?
So we can fall back to IFA for the whole amount. The other, I don't see USDA falling through unless maybe Michael Jones or something, but they have the best terms, the best interest rate, and the best length of time for amortizing the loans.
Yeah, they're definitely better.
So, yeah.
So we've gone pretty far down this road on this project, and I guess it was a year and a half, 2 years ago when we first got the water report. And we started talking about all this, and at those meetings, we talked about one of the requirements that of us in the USDA funding would have been that we needed to become a market rate with our water bills. And there was talk about how much that was gonna increase people's bill, just some regular, baseline minimum fee per month, and that was, at that time I heard it was, somewhere between $10 and $20. And so I'm just wondering, it seems like since then I've also heard a different number, which was higher, closer to the 20 number. I mean, is that kind of accurate, or is that, are we seeing those numbers yet, or is that something that might be further down in this application process, or?
Well, we're still using the same numbers that we presented in that report.
Yeah.
So they haven't changed, the terms haven't really changed. So when they come back with what they can do for us, then we'll have a real number. I don't expect it to be much different from what we, and I'm sorry, I can't remember.
It was around 19.
If I say something, I'll be wrong.
Well, and that's why I was saying it was, I thought it was somewhere between, that's probably why I've seen the line, and then it was closer to 20, But you know, I just want people to be aware of that. I mean, this council ultimately is trying to approve that project moving forward. I know you spent a lot of time on it, appreciate it. But it's still a pretty major decision, I think, that ought to have a couple of public meetings to explain to people what's going to actually happen with their water bill if we move forward with this, you know, 10 million thereabout, give or take, project and
It was,
update our quality of water.
it probably needs to be updated. The rates were discussed at those meetings, of course, that has been a while ago.
Right on.
We really didn't add any of the Red Rock usage. So that will have some.
I would love to, you know, I mean, we've still got some timeline, but I still get a lot of questions about water lines, and I don't think, having sat in that meeting, people realize how much water lines were already updated. And we still need to work on getting that information out there, and I know we've all tried it this bazillion different ways, but down the road, yeah, definitely to have another meeting that you did a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. It was a great meeting and extremely informative. I would like to repeat that, just for the sake of the community. It was really good, so, yeah, definitely if we get more information here,
We can do that.
down the road would be great, especially if we have the possible raising rates.
Michelle, do you have anything else?
I don't, thank you.
Okay. Let's move on down to the old business, Lake County School District 7 memorandum of understanding. That was just information, that's an informational item. Okay.
It was actually.
Old business is, Joey Batty, bike racks.
I was here in June and made a presentation asking for $7,500 for bike racks for the community. And after discussion with the board and discussion about wanting them to be in the public places like some of the parks in addition to in commercial business in the downtown area, the final award was up to $10,000, providing we could install at least 35 racks in downtown. So we immediately ordered them, and the town sent a check to Oregon prisons where they're going to be made, and the prisons didn't know what the check was for, and so put it into their general funds. And it took me 6 months to track it down and find it and make them actually start working on them. So they finished the bike racks the end of January. And we now have them, so the great unveiling for Lakeview, Oregon bike racks. We have 35 of them. It's going to take about, and it was $4,000. It's going to take about $1,000 for the do not steal these, do not steal the bikes attached to them bolts that you need to put them in the ground. And then we can start installing them.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're
Shall I-
heavy.
Yes.
Are you guys getting a quote for that hardware?
We were going to go through ACE, and just try, because we wanted to keep it as local as possible, and we're not able to do it, so, we are pricing them online, and then I will go to Dan and say, this is what I can do online, what can you do to get them for us? At the last meeting, the council felt that, Public Works was a little bit busy to try to be installing bike racks around town. And so if that is still the case and you don't want us to hand these over to Jeff and his guys, we have volunteers with Occupy East Street and the Lakeview Pedal Posse that will be installing them. I need to have a contact on the council or someone in town hall regarding which parks do you want them in? How many do you want?
All of them.
Where else do you want them to be?
It all has to be approved through Janine.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
So we meet all the ADA requirements and everything else, which I don't think is gonna be an issue, but wherever we decide to put these, they have to be ran through Janine.
As
before we
part of my
install.
background, I've done community bike rack projects before. I'm aware of the ADA and all of that.
Right,
I will be in definite touch with Jeff as we put them around town. I've also reached out to Jessica, who's had dealings with the ODOT street furniture person, to make sure I am talking to the right person at ODOT to get them on F Street. and then am just generally going to start advertising on Facebook and in the newspaper for other businesses beyond the list I already have who may be interested. And so who wants to help me to figure out where around City Park do you want them to be?
I'll help you.
You'll help me there? That would be great.
And I
I
have
would
an
appreciate
outlet for that hardware if you can't, if
Oh,
you're having
great.
trouble getting it, so just let me know.
I'm always willing to look at more outlets.
Yeah.
Yeah, my assumption account probably has a counterfeit with a MasterCard, it may be cheaper to go through retail.
I have a company that specializes in state and federal hardware for bike racks and signage and everything else out of Southern California that if you guys
Would be
need,
very interested.
I can get you a quote from them.
It's like I've been working very hard at minimizing what the cost of this is.
Mhm.
And thus far, we're significantly under the budget that you gave me, and I want to continue to be that way.
Yeah, I just need to let me know what you're looking for,
Okay,
or a part number or whatever, and I can get you a quote from them and let you know what it'll do.
does anyone have any other questions?
I have one.
Yes,
I hate to ask 3 minutes.
Be in the harness.
Since I'm from the generation where you had a bike rack and you stuck the wheel in the slot.
uh-huh.
He doesn't know how to use
We're growing out of that, Daryl.
So if they don't lock their bike up here, they just lean it against there?
Yes,
Okay,
They don't even have kickstands sometimes anymore.
okay, so.
Yeah, the stands you're referring to are called wheel benders in the industry. That's exactly what they do.
You don't run around with
You can get a bike leaned on either side and then
That's
lock
still
around the bike frame.
Okay, so basically there's 2 bicycles or so that'll.
2 bicycles or so. When Tom and I travel together, we lean our bikes
It's stacked like 5.
stacked against each
Yeah.
other, and so that we only take off one side of the rack, that way someone else can use the other side of the rack. If you have a low rider bike or 3-wheeler or a BMX or something, you can attach it to the edges. They're great for attaching your dog or your stroller or whatever. They're just really marvelous multi-purpose street furniture.
Darwin needs 5 of them.
On the record or off the record, Darwin?
They're also where you usually install them on the street is in the line of where you would put street trees between the curb and the building, closer to the curb. So you still have ADA access to the building, but you have this nice barrier between the traffic and the pedestrians. And even though it's not going to stop a car, the psychological advantage of that all the ODOT studies show and all the state US transportation studies show is that you get more foot traffic, more pedestrian traffic in your downtown areas and in your communities if you have this kind of furniture. You also automatically slow down traffic by about 10 to 15 miles an hour because if they see a bike rack, even if they don't consciously see a bike rack, they see something that says there's going to be pedestrians, there's going to be kids around, you need to slow down. So,
It would be great if we could do a bike to work or bike to whatever day with the school that does it. What, the last day of school? Do you guys remember?
The last week.
Last week, if we could do some type of collaboration as a town, so we can really utilize these. I think it's great. I love it. I need bikes.
I know where you can get one.
I know, I have to buy a whole bunch of them.
Tom, are you staying for the rest of the meeting?
Yeah.
Can I talk to you after the meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
And if you don't have any other questions, my last request would be if you could leave this one here for you to
Show off.
display in the town hall, someplace you can come in and out.
Here, let's give it
So
a key. Let's put it right here.
Just so that people coming in and out of town hall know that they're coming and know that you guys are aware of them.
We need a picture of it in the paper so that people know
I
how
took
it
a
looks,
picture of
because many people probably won't know that with that different type of bike rack.
At least part of a
Very
certain
nice.
generation.
Well, I don't know how many little kids have seen one like that.
Yeah, we are in Lakeview.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Reflective paint or something on that for at nighttime when the cars do come up to park, they can actually see it a little better too.
Well,
That's why they
the
have
little
headlights.
cowboy boots are reflective.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And we're hopefully, they're gonna be far enough away that you're not gonna like drive up on the curb and run over them. Unless you are already impaired enough that you shouldn't be driving.
And don't put it in front of the village.
Well, that might be a good test, you know, you hit your life raft and use your license.
Tripping off.
Awesome, this is interesting.
No, we had a contest for bike rack designs and Megan McGowan designed them.
Old business, was ordinance 70, wildlife control ordinance, read by title only.
Well, we need to make a motion.
Yeah.
Which has to be unanimous.
Somebody want to read it?
Okay, I make a motion that we, vote on ordinance number 870, by title only.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Yes, I know.
Are you
opposing or? No, I didn't say anything.
Yeah, but you have to
I know,
vote,
but
you have to vote one way or
Did I say
another.
aye?
No.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
In your
In your mind, you did. So it's
Can't read my
unanimous.
mind.
Nor do I want to.
So, yeah, let's discuss the policy.
Again?
So, well, just
Okay, go
for the
ahead.
updates, right, just to, when we left last, Jeff was gonna update this to include the fee schedule that we talked about. Which is in there. But he also was gonna do something that I thought about the bird feeders situation.
Is it not?
I just wanted to make sure, right?
There was,
And that this would go into effect July 1st because of the concerns I had about who's gonna actually do the work.
right, I think we did
There is a
discuss
deal
that.
in here
Yeah,
about
I see-
birds.
I see the correct, the last page is the second last page.
Mhm.
For signatures, it's got effective.
There is something about this one, I can't remember which.
On the sixth.
Page 2.
Isn't that right?
So, I came to this wanting to vote no on this, being very open about this. And I know I said, July 1st we can figure it out, I'm still not convinced that we're gonna actually be able to enforce this all that well. And how much time it's gonna take really concerns me, because I still don't think that our ultimate goal was to hopefully be a safer community by getting deer removed. And I don't think that that's actually gonna happen unless we have a really good partnership with ODFW actually worked out. And this ordinance, while in theory is one step forward to getting there, I don't know if we're really there yet, and that's what concerns me still on this. But one of the things I know when both of you came on and has been talked about before was how we need to review all the ordinances and see what should stay and what should go and what needs to be amended. And you know, this doesn't have an end date, obviously. I mean, the ordinance is in effect until amended or abolished. So in this case, you know, July 1st is only around the corner, and I'm still needing to know who's gonna actually do the work. Have we kind of figured that out?
All right, Darwin, I talked to Trevor, over there in Klamath, and said, once this is in place, they could come over and he sent me, and I didn't get a chance to have Dawn print it off for everybody, but I have the laws for the do's and don'ts or whatever for Fish and Game. And that, he said that they will remove ones that are a nuisance, but also our law enforcement can do the same thing.
So he's telling you that Fish and Wildlife will actually remove them because that is contrary to everything we've heard from
That's
local.
what he said, they would have law enforcement want to move them,
And, okay, so that's different, law enforcement.
but he said that they have done it themselves too.
Because Burns can't, I mean, the same situation, they have to pay their local law enforcement or somebody licensed to do that. That ODFW won't do it, they only issue the tags essentially for permit. Because that's big, I mean, that's a big difference if they're saying they're gonna do it versus.
But they will only be the ones that really become a threat or,
Which they will do anyways without this
Right.
ordinance.
right,
Threaten or
law enforcement can do any of that anytime. So,
And have we got any word from the sheriff? I mean, I haven't, kind of, it's been on the sidelines on this for good information. And whoever's the lead on this, but it's, knowing again, somebody's gonna have to do a lot of work. If the sheriff's agreeing to this, because they are our police force, then I'd like to know that he's actually agreeing to help enforce the law that we're now gonna create.
They'll deal with anything that's a threat.
Yeah.
as they,
Which they would anyway.
with or without this.
Yeah, with or without it. This is really just for feeding, which, in theory sounds great, to stop people from feeding here.
And on that note, with the ordinances and taking care of them, there's so much that has to be done, and that person really does have to be on the field all the time. I tried to do it, but I can't be out there all the time. Stuff won't get done, it's not realistic.
And that's where, like I said, I mean, it's gonna take somebody a lot of time out there enforcing. The sheriff, from what we originally, maybe I'm mixing apples and oranges, but with what we talked about, how many positions we were gonna have, we're not even there yet. And now we're gonna add another responsibility on it, and it just doesn't seem to financially add up.
And if we can figure something out, that would be great, because garbage is piling up again, I'm getting calls again. And
Well, we have to get
You know,
an
even-
ordinance officer at some point.
That's a
okay,
subject, we need to stick to this
exactly.
right now.
I'll talk to the sheriff and I'll go, and I'll get a hold of whoever can. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, the sheriff doesn't have time to run around and write people tickets.
No, he
No, but if he gets called dispatch one, they will
Oh,
do
he
it.
will, he's already said that. If it's a threat to somebody, he's gonna deal with it.
I think the idea of this was to prevent people from feeding deer that causes them harm.
And
makes
really,
them
it's not feeding deer, I mean, to be honest, it talks about feral cats and birds, as well. So, which is also an issue in the community. I know exactly where Lori was
She's over
talking
there
about.
in the corner.
Yeah, there she is. Lori was talking about, there's a huge area of feral cats. It's my understanding they are fixed feral cats, but I have heard that it's a nuisance to some people living in that area. I really don't know what, I've never visually seen.
aren't they-
It's like right there on the cusp.
Okay,
Exceptions, that's correct.
But that brings another valid point, is you've got urban growth boundary that is so intermixed with our town that, like, in that situation, you've got county, town, it just makes no sense. Why, I mean, we can enforce this, but really, I mean, to me, I feel like urban growth boundary would make more sense.
We can't pass laws in the
I know. But, somebody's gonna throw it across the street, so.
but people got questions.
My question is regarding critter control overall. I understand about the sheriff maybe doing the deer thing, but wouldn't not some of this fall under code enforcer? Somebody that would be from out of town to enforce codes? Would not some of this fall under that?
Couldn't have one.
Yeah, that's the whole deal,
Well,
is
it's
we've
not
gotta
someone
come up
from
with.
out of town, we
Yeah,
have
we
to
need somebody
hire
from
our
out.
own.
It can't be, because the thing with the code enforcer, if it's somebody local, it wouldn't go well at all. I was talking to
It's fine.
somebody and they said it'd have to be somebody from outside of our town coming in as a
Local
code
people doing
enforcer.
it in the past.
Just like somebody from Lakeview would go somewhere else as a code enforcer. I was talking to somebody and I thought, well, that actually makes sense because otherwise, can you imagine that?
It's just like a police officer that lives here, it's not easy,
Yeah,
Right,
but it's their job, I mean, so they take the good and the bad.
And that's an
Yeah.
issue
So that
for
would actually
another
fall under a
discussion,
police department?
because we're not gonna be
That's-
financially able to do that right now.
right.
I mean, so.
I'm just asking, would something like that fall under
We don't know if it.
code enforcement?
This would definitely fall under code enforcement, yes, to answer your question. But at this point, we don't have a person to do code enforcement. In the future, we probably, maybe will, depending on the financial situation of the town.
Jake?
Well, I was gonna say, if you do a part-time dog person like you were talking about, maybe you could add a little more time to him and do deer enforcement. I don't know.
Either way, we gotta come up with a way to
The
fund
funds
it.
to have
All
that.
of it
Yeah,
right now.
all of that is inclusive to ordinance or nuisance and code enforcement. If, you know, we would never be able to fund somebody based on just dog, or just, if they would have to tie into all of it,
Combined.
in order to make sense with it.
And the way this was funded before, part of it was city dollars, part of it was county dollars, but federal money was involved.
You mean when Furtado was here?
Yeah, and then when the federal money went away, everything else stopped, because neither one had the money to fund it completely.
So let's get back to this.
All right,
So,
Are we gonna have a vote or are we not going to vote?
well, I'm going to vote on it.
I'm going to vote on.
Basically, to feed the deer, stop feeding the deer, the other part we can come back with as far as removal and
this is an ordinance like,
until we get a code enforcement officer, there's really not a whole lot that can be done.
it's an ordinance like any other. It can be amended, it can be repealed. If we don't have, if we decide, like next meeting, we want to do something different, we can do it, yeah.
I had brought up a special session, given some of the audience members' lack of information getting to them. I'm not opposed to that still. Come to find out, there's been access to this information for some time to the public. So, you know, I think we definitely discussed it. I looked back in my records, we did hold a evening meeting regarding this when we did 6+ months of evening meetings. So, because that was a big concern. So we have brought this up, our meetings are published. I felt the same way about it the whole time. I think probably even more so strongly now. I'm ready to vote either way, you know, not opposed to it. So, would somebody make a motion?
I make a motion that we vote on, what ordinance is this?
Word to maybe you want to vote on it, just so we can
870
speak by title.
By code,
No,
by
you don't, we made that motion, you need to read it.
I don't have my glasses, so I can't read the title.
I would move that we vote on ordinance number 870. An ordinance prohibiting the practice of feeding, baiting, and or maintaining wildlife in any area subject to the jurisdiction of the town of Lakeview and effective date.
I'll second that. Sorry.
Motion made and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
You have to vote.
I'll vote with you.
I know where you're coming from. It's hard because we're not enforcing this yet, but I think that we will
We
find
need
a
to
means.
we need to work on the budget and plan.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
It's not effective until July first, so. We can amend it and send it.
Saturate the newspaper and media.
Alright,
Okay.
All right, let's move on down. Amend the road closure for Irish Days until 2 p.m.
Yes, that was, Tilly Flynn would like to amend it to 2 p.m. because the outhouse races should be finished by 2.
and the mess cleaned up.
And the mess will be
What
cleaned
time
up.
are the outhouse races? You know?
We just got asked to amend it to 2. I think they start at noon and they're giving it a couple hours, that's with cleanup and everything, so.
Well, do we need to make a motion to approve that?
Yep.
Cause I'll make a motion to approve the extended road closure till 2 on Saturday, the 14th.
No, second.
14th.
Yeah.
No, second.
It's still conditional.
Motion made and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approved. All right. Now let's move on down to new business. Summer food service program. I don't see in here.
It's just, I think it's a little better that's in your packet.
That's not this informational.
No, I
We have
think
to
the
read
lady
the
is the whole card.
Did he send a letter?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a letter in
Right.
the file.
Take mine.
I think
Oh, I
it's,
must have missed it.
it's,
I got it. No, I got it.
it's the same program they've done every summer at the
Yeah.
park.
So, the program's looking good, I appreciate the work the hospital, health district, those are involved in the doing. Make a motion to approve, the use of, our parks, the kitty park, which is the dog park and Lakeview Commons North area as the location spot from June 15th through August 21st, and if they extend, a couple weeks beyond that, great, but they probably won't, so.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded, those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. All right, let's move on down to resolution 974. Do I have a motion on this one?
I thought Janine was, I showed you her copy.
The fees?
Janine wasn't, maybe she didn't.
Do you want me to go grab her?
Oh, yeah, she's
She's
here.
probably, she might
Yeah.
be with somebody, so
Yeah.
that might be why she brought in.
I kind of wish there was before and after of this, what they were and what they're now becoming, and, it sounds like it's been like 20 years since we've updated and we.
I think it's
Plan.
been, yeah, it's been a long time. I think she put it in that memo we had in one of ours regarding the couple last month.
From my understanding, like, the plan department doesn't, or the plan commission doesn't meet all that often.
They only meet when they have,
Yeah, actual things to review.
actual business.
Some of these are administrative costs, but.
She's coming, she was with somebody.
Ray, a point of clarification, when you say the road or the street in this case is closed, does that mean it's closed to parking also, besides traffic?
Yes,
That nobody will park on both sides of that?
right.
Did we give them permission like the night before to block it off or something, right? Yeah.
Yes, and it was.
Oh, do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking like that,
Why not? Good afternoon.
Hi.
I've been asked to
Just
answer some questions.
Yeah, well, just explain, what you're voting
Or what
on
I
here
have. Yeah,
and where your fees, how much they went up.
Okay, the fee schedule was adopted in 2001, so that's 19 years ago, and had not been increased since that time. So the schedule before you, and I guess I didn't give you what the existing, and I should have done that, I'm sorry, to give you an idea. Basically, the fees have been increased for inflation only. So, as an example, a fee that is $50 is proposed for $75. A $25 fee is proposed for $50. Those are the most common applications that we do have. Development review is one of the most common, and the fee was $25 and it's proposed to be $50. The one thing I can tell you, Councilor Johnson knows this from his work as well. I reviewed several Eastern Oregon cities and their fee schedules and development risk, and keeping the community in mind as well. The other communities, the fees are much higher, even for cities similar to us. But in considering our community, I felt that the only thing that I would propose to the council would be an increase for inflation. And that's what the proposal is.
And when was the last time the fees were increased?
2001, 19 years.
Long time.
And this would be the first time.
Okay.
That they've been.
So those were from original set of planning and
Yes.
development.
Does that help?
Yes, very much.
Okay. Thank you, Janine.
You're welcome.
Okay. Now do I hear a motion on this?
So just last discussion out. and Janine could have told us this, I was looking at our budget, revenue projected for planning permits, just $3,000, so we're talking very minor, but the amount of work that goes into some of these applications is far and away beyond like anywhere close to these numbers, like especially if you're talking about a comprehensive plan for $375, Janine's time is gonna be like maxed out, like, I mean, it's. So, you know, just as an example, for the county, we have a base fee of $1,000, but up to $2,500 real cost, and then 25%, or sorry, 50% after that of real cost. And so I already tell people that I'm charging you the full 25 up front, because the 1,000 was, you know, kind of ridiculous to even think about it. And a lot of times it's not just a comprehensive plan change, but it's also a zone change. You know, then the base fee of the county is $3,750. So, I mean, you know, and that's a large portion of my budget when I do that, because my budget's only $8,000 in revenue for the year. But when I get these applications, it also, it's not to hinder growth, it's just that when those people are serious about doing these types of development, they should be paying, and they recognize that up front, because it's a major deal. I mean, you know, then they're invested more in their applications, and it tends to go a lot smoother. You know, solar projects are saying $2,500.
So you're kind of suggesting.
I wish we were going higher, and
The more.
you know, it's only, it's rare, I mean, you know, there's been a few applications, I think, that companies that may fall into some of these categories. But it's rare, so we can go with this, now, but I would say that we ought to look at it again. Because you can only update this, from my understanding, on the county level every 18 months to increase fees and to publish it and talk about how the increase is gonna work. So, just a thought. I'm certainly glad they're going out, but again, this is a drop in the bucket. A large budget that overseas. But with that said, and Janine, you know, looking at those other counties that don't, they're still below them, and other cities, sorry, we're still below them. It should be a selling point. It doesn't usually do much, because people still fuss and complain about any fees that they have to pay to. But again, this is an extra thing that they're asking for, so something for general use, so.
Oh, yeah.
I make a motion to approve resolution 974 in the matter of adopting fees for applications and permits authorized and required by the town of Lakeview's comprehensive plan and development.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I think you're right, Darrell, we probably should review this in 2 months and get some samples from some other towns our size.
I think you did, I was just.
Yeah.
So the next council meeting is, we decided on the 30th, right? After spring break,
Oh,
Tuesday after spring break?
Whatever Tuesday is. that
I just wanna know how much time I have.
It's, according to my calendar here, the
31st.
town council meeting will be the 31st.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, council, before you take off,
Just as a reminder too, while we're just getting what we're doing, we have our.
Our what?
Oh, yeah.
April 15th, don't
I
forget.
got an email. What is it?
You're supposed to get an email if you've been on the county police to hear.
Oh,
I got
yes.
an email last year.
Well,
but I haven't seen it.
No, okay, so I got one the other day for her, and they said they kept sending them to me, and I never got anything on the shelf. So I'll go look at all of your guys' and see where we're at, otherwise you're gonna make it.
You can get them online.
Well, and I'll just forward this email to you guys.
It's so easy.
Oh, yeah.
I keep my.
Just come in and I'll do it for you, it takes 2 seconds.
But it's very important, so.
Yeah.
You just,
I have
yes,
to
no,
remind my
advise them.
Okay.
You're taking bribes.
Yes,
You
I have. You gotta report on your price.
Yeah, you need to report the bribes.
Are they gonna tax you on that?
They have
Mayor,
taxes,
was there
like-
something else, or are we?
all right, anybody have anything else? Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting at, 4:54.
On Facebook today, hey, Darwin, before you leave,